Keith Smith, NBC, Yahoo Sports, NBA, and he joins us now. Now, Keith, don't bring our 5-star ratings down. You hear what I mean?
I won't, man. I'll get my mom in there and have her pump it up a bit.
You're on hour 3, okay? Tell her to rate hour 3. Here. All right, man. Before we get into some NBA stuff, I do want to get your take on the Last Dance episodes from this week. Obviously, everybody is kind of keeping an eye on this, but I really thought this episode hammered home the competitiveness of Jordan and why we kind of view him the way that we do if you view him as the GOAT.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, we're going to start seeing a handful more stories like that because there's ones out there that they didn't really get into it, but there's a famous one of somebody beat him in ping pong. So then he went out and bought a ping pong table and practiced every day until he became the best player in ping pong, and then nobody wanted to play him anymore. We saw what he did at his Hall of Fame induction ceremony when he, basically trash talked the guy who made the varsity team over him and was like, where's that guy now? Which is, crazy because that was, 30, 40 years ago. But, this guy, it's clear, he's competitive. He wants to win in those things. And I think these episodes, the first few seemed like it was more of the hero story a little bit. And I think these ones did a pretty good job of saying, yeah, there's some stuff with this guy. Let's look into it a little deeper as, the competition, the gambling and things like that.
Now, I know I'm putting you on the spot a little bit here, but we're looking for a 5-star review with this answer. Whose legacy do you think was affected the most by Jordan being and that Bulls team during that era? Do you look back at that era and say, man, this guy's legacy would have been much, and I know there's a lot of options here, but is there one that stands out? Because a lot of people are talking about Barkley because he was so prominently featured in that show, but people forget Barkley was there once. You had Malone there multiple times. You had Drexler there a bunch. So whose legacy do you say? You had the Pistons teams that could have potentially won more. So whose legacy do you think was affected the most by those MJ Bulls teams?
Yeah, I'm going to give you a tie, but I don't feel bad about it because they're so linked forever in history, and that's John Stockton and Karl Malone. I think they would have clearly got at least one title, maybe two, the 2 times they met the Bulls. Those series were a little closer than I think people remember, and they were there. They were very competitive, and I think they would have got at least one title. Right behind those guys, I would go with Patrick Ewing because those 3 in Barkley are those 4 guys there constantly brought up as the really great historically great players but never won a ring, and I think Ewing head to head Jordan's team knocked him out so many times in the playoffs, and he had his couple chances and they just fell short. But I would say Stockton and Malone at the top of that list, then I'd go Ewing and then Barkley after.
Yeah, I was definitely thinking Ewing. That was my go-to. But I was also a little bit going to go in a different direction and say Scottie Pippen because he definitely was affected as well in a different way. But when I look at that episode, my biggest takeaway was that USA practice. What did you think about the trash talking and the way that Magic went up to him and it totally sparked a different level out of Michael?
Yeah, I want the full footage. I want the whole thing. Show me the entire practice, right? Like that's, I'd watch that thing from tip to tail. And it is, we've heard about this legendary, practice for years and Jack McCallum wrote about it in his great Dream Team book, what it was like. And it was really cool to see some real footage of that and just how hard those guys were going at each other. And I think that's, there's this impression of, well, they were united. They wanted to win the gold and bring it back home to the USA. And that not that wasn't true, but there was also a motivation of, all right, let me show you who's the best. And at the end of the day, it was MJ telling everybody, I'm the best.
I like the fact, too, when he got asked by Ahmad Rashad, essentially, hey, who takes the last shot? And Jordan looks at him and said, that's a horrible question. Me. Yeah. I mean, you just wouldn't get that from some of today's stars, I don't think. I think they're a lot more careful with how they're portrayed in being, a selfish player.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, there's a borderline between confidence and cockiness, and MJ walked, right on it. He was right there at all times. And I think there is, that sense of I'm taking it. I'm going to be the guy who takes it. Now, clearly that team never got anywhere close to needing anything like that, because every game was a 30-plus point blowout. But it was, it was interesting to see him, come out and kind of say, that would be me. And as an aside, did you see Ahmad Rashad's video the other day? That guy's 70 years old. I would like to look that good when I'm 70, because it'd be an improvement on how I look now in my 40s.
No, but I did see, what was it, Willow Bay. I totally forgot about her, that they found her for this thing. I totally forgot about her.
Yeah, Willow Bay is Bob Iger's wife, actually.
How about that? I did not know that.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
I did not know that either. Yeah. So the one thing that was brought up on this show a couple days ago, which kind of took me by surprise, I never really thought about it this way. Jerry Krause clearly got these players pissed off and made them take another jump on the court, whether it's who they were playing up against or whatever the case may be. Do you think that was a strategic plan by Jerry Krause, or was he that delusional that he really believed that some of these players could do what MJ and Pippen were doing?
No, I think there was definitely some strategy in that. There's been some reporting, years and years after the fact that Krause and Phil Jackson both knew that team needed, kind of a common, we're going to prove you wrong, because the league wasn't, as weird as it sounds, the league wasn't enough for them anymore with that. They knew, we're not going to sleepwalk to the finals, but we're going to be back there. And I think, Jerry Krause, gave them that kind of common enemy. And I think, one of the things is, when all is said and done, I'm hoping over these last handful of episodes, it'll come out of, he's been kind of portrayed a little bit as the villain thus far in the documentary, but what an incredible job he did of putting together not only one, but two championship rosters around Jordan and Pippen. Those were the two constants. And then they basically rebuilt everything between those two separate 3-year runs. And that's really incredible to pull off.
Keith Smith at Keith Smith NBA. All right. So every week we kind of look at where the NBA is. And it seems that hockey and baseball seem to be making a little bit more noise. Where is the NBA currently? The article that you had written about Walt Disney World was getting a lot of attention, and it sounded like this might be something that they're about ready to move forward with. What do we know about that, number one? We saw that Vegas also put up a proposal, but the NBA still seems that they are taking this a little slower than, I'm not to say that they're wrong, I'm not criticizing them, but it just seems that they're taking this a little slower.
Yeah, you're absolutely right on that. And what I was told this week, including again this morning when I've asked some different people, is their focus right now is how do we get players back in these facilities where the states are kind of open back up for business, and how do we do that on as even a playing field as possible, because it's only half-ish of the franchises that can get back into their facility and start working out and practicing. And one of the things that they're not too worried right now, because it's very limited in what they can do in these workouts. But if you start getting states that start advancing further and further, and then all of a sudden you can get 3-on-3 games going and those kind of things, and then you have other states that are still completely closed, that's the league's focus. As far as getting back to play, one of the things I was told with them this week is that they are really their concern is with getting things to a place where the testing is not an issue. They're not taking too many away from the public. They're really concerned with that, the way that would look. They want to make sure that is something that is not in a spot where it looks like the NBA is getting preferential treatment. They're very proud of the fact that they led the way out of this with, let's shut this down, let's be on the safe side. They want to be just as proud of the way they come back and make sure that they're not really, hampering their community out there from keeping tests away from them just so that they can get back to playing. And then site-wise, it sounds like it's between Orlando and Las Vegas. I don't have any further details other than that I've been told, though, if they go that direction, it is still very much an if they go that direction. It's going to be between one of those two places is what it sounded like.
Now, if they go that direction, are they giving Keith Smith credit for coming up with the idea?
I don't know about that, and I don't know if I should get credit for it. I think I was just the first one to put it down on virtual paper and get it all in one place and get it written and posted somewhere. But I know, the league has backup plans, and they're there are people who look at a lot of things, but if they want to give me credit for it, I will happily take it.
I would charge a fee too, if a finder's fee for all of this. Keith Smith, NBA on Twitter, Yahoo Sports, Pro Basketball Talk, NBC, Real GM, Celtics blog. And by the way, were you surprised? Elton Brand the other day came out and said that the Sixers have been preparing for the Celtics. Like, that's pretty much what they've been doing in this off time.
Yeah, I think there's several teams that are kind of operating under the belief of either we're going to get a very minimal return to regular season play that may not impact the standings all that much, or we're jumping right into the playoffs. And there are teams, I know a lot of teams have been looking, and they're starting almost with all right, it's going to be one of these 2 or 3 teams, and we're going to start our playoff prep there. That's kind of the work you do generally in starting, let's call it late March, early April. You start looking at those matchups. And so that doesn't surprise me at all, because that would be, if they jumped right into the playoffs, that would be the first round matchup.
All right, Keith Smith, NBA on Twitter. And, of course, he, like all guests, appeared via the Boardwalk Honda hotline. All right, Keith, take care, pal.
Thanks, guys. You all stay safe.
Yeah, man. And, of course, the Sports Bash live on 97.3 ESPN. Mike Gill, Hunter Brody.